accomplishments speak for himself, where we're not even quoting the regional finishes for Ross. It's just how he does at Worlds.
Let's see how these two decks fight against each other and how Ross is able to adapt to that Shaman being in play. It can be a very easy route to victory to just announce Trifrost twice, knock out Drapey and Dracloak in play, and snowball from there. Without that option, when Dragapult gets put into play, what is that response going to look like, and what pieces will be available? As the prize cards go out immediately, that Pheasantipede EX at the top of the prizes, always a great card for Dragapult to have access to draw more cards. And an interesting inclusion, we keep seeing sort of these fun tech Pokemon in Slowking. It's that Zeraora with that Thunder Raid snipe attack at its disposal, but it's sort of a 2-for-1 with the Pheasantipede gone and with the Zeraora gone. Those two cards kind of clash with each other a lot during these matches.
A couple of pieces there as well for Ross. That Cypher Maniac's code breaking is so important. If you are unable to find that Academy at night, it's a great way to kind of work around the stadium and put your desired attacker up on the top of the deck. Gonna see how Ross has to work around it, but still, here we go. It's gonna be our round number 3.
Unfortunate starter for Ross, starting that Kyurem. Of course, you need to have that in the deck and in your hand with the Academy of Night, and with there being no way to pick Pokemon up, that Pokemon will be stuck in play for as long as Greg chooses to maybe go about avoiding KOing it, as there's no buddy popping for Ross, and contemplating an Ultra Ball early on just to try and get a Slowpoke into play on turn number 1.
Granted, he does at least have the telepathic energy to get at least some Slowpokes out onto the field, but also not only can you grab the Slowpokes, Ethan, can also grab your Latias EX as well to be able to maneuver that Kyurem out of the active and head back onto the bench. One other thing that I did see off of this Ultra Ball discard is going to be that one of Lucky Helmet being discarded as well. A great tool card where you're actually going to be able to draw 2 cards every time you get damaged by an attack. So especially in a deck like Dragapult that really does kind of shift towards using Itchy Pollen, and Slowking getting a couple of cards to kind of go with, that actually feels pretty good.
Opting for that Mega Kangaskhan EX instead, potentially relying off this run errand ability early on. It is the backbone draw engine of the Slowking deck. Maybe signaling there is something like a switch, as Kyurem does have a hefty retreat cost to move out of the active spot. So Kangaskhan EX, the choice from Ultra Ball. We'll see in the hand a switch be played, and these are going to be a big 2 cards from Run Errand. Can Ross find some way to put a Slowpoke into play? There is another Telepathic Psychic Energy, and going to have to play what looks like a costly Ultra Ball number 2 on this first turn.
Not loving to see it, Ethan. That is a lot of energy. Now, granted, there are a lot of energy in this deck, about 8 Psychic, 4 Telepathic, 4 Psychic here. But the thing is, you really need to utilize them because in the amount of times you actually start discarding your energy. There's also 3 Boomerang energy as well here. But like we had talked about, it's not exactly what you want to see going into the discard pile turn 1.
Difficult as well to see Slowking hit the discard pile. Noted there is one in the prize cards, and you are using a lot of these recovery cards to bring back the Pokemon you put on top of your deck with Seek Inspiration. These are, of course, interesting things to note. Resources will be at bay for both players. Academy at Night at the prizes as well. We'll see Slowpoke be grabbed. Telepathic Psychic Energy attached, meaning that Ross can find a couple of basic Pokemon to put into play. It will be the Latias EX and Slowpoke number 2. So all things considered, Emily, given the nature of the start, nature of the resources, Ross has gotten himself off to a pretty solid setup on turn number 1.
We'll also be able to at least get back some of these resources as well, thanks to Wondrous Patch and Night Stretcher. I know we were a little bit concerned with that Slowking hitting the discard. Does play a couple of copies of that Night Stretcher, but all things considered, we'll at least have the Mega Kangaskhan in play to keep drawing through the deck going into this next turn. I just wish that Lucky Helmet didn't have to go down, because this Mega Kangaskhan sitting at 300 hit points would be able to soak a couple of Itchy Pollens, and their Ross would be able to keep grabbing on to some more cards here. But you can see, Ethan, I mean, Pokepad for the very obvious choice.
Immediately getting Shaman, showing how important that card is in this matchup to prevent against that Trifrost attack, as the second Pokepad will almost certainly grab Drapey. We do need to get those in play to evolve up into Dracloak. So these two cards, it's a bit of aggressiveness against passivity. It seems very metaphoric at that.
Well, if you're looking on your screen, that's how the meta, or that's how this matchup goes, right? Unfortunately for Ross, Shaman is going to be blocking this Trifrost from the Kyurem. But not only that as well, this Zeraora that you were alluding to, Ethan, with that Thunder Raid attack, being able to target down things like Pheasantipity EXs, Meowth EXs as well. So we'll be able to get something started.
Of course, of note, have to remember that Flower Curtain does not block a Pokemon with rule boxes. So those Pokemon can still be hit with Thunder Raid's attack. Of course, Dragapult being a Terra Pokemon does prevent it from taking damage on the bench. But that Shaman's only going to really protect against Trifrost in this matchup. Greg will play his supporter for turn. That Lily's Determination, such an important supporter for all these. And what a stacked hand for the following turn. A pair of Dracloak, Pokepad for that third Dracloak as well. And with Shaman being in play, you can just go about this matchup with so much more comfort, knowing that you have such a higher likelihood of getting Dragapult EX into play before your Dracloaks are taken out.
Not only that, Ethan, I think this would have been the perfect turn as long as there was an energy to go with for Greg. But thankfully for Greg, is playing the Blaziken package, so that energy attachment down the line wouldn't be falling too hard at the wayside here. But back on over to Ross, Itchy Pollen, and now Ross is going to have to maneuver a couple of ways around here to find Slowking and at least get something going, potentially taking that prize card.
Big run errand. Can he find some sort of help, a supporter card, some way to continue to filter through the deck? I see a Boomerang energy. It's not going to do much good when you can't really just give yourself a send and discard the top card of your deck. It seems way too risky. We'll see Kangaskhan retreat into the Slowpoke.
This is interesting
now, the
here.
Slowpoke can take a KO with Tackle, so it may not be mighty, but it can still get the job done, tackling his way through Itchy Pollen and Badoo himself, trying to just take prize cards to put some sort of plan together. And also knowing, Emily, that there's not a lot of threat in terms of attacking pressure on Greg's next turn.
Definitely not, and especially looking at Greg's list, seeing only 2 rare candy here. So Greg would have to be able to find double rare candy into Dragapult or the Blaziken to get really things started here. But look at that, Ethan. I mean, it's 3 Dracloaks and the Unfair Stamp as well. So a fresh 5 cards for Greg, and then a ton of Recon Directive to go with.
Now, of course, Ross was not working with too much, so he may unironically be okay with being Unfair Stamped in this spot. You do lose, of course, some cards and some pieces, and got a little help with that Cypher Maniac being drawn off the prizes, but you know your opponent didn't do too much. It really seems like Greg is digging for, like you mentioned, some sort of aggressive way to deal with Slowpoke this turn. There's no energy in the discard pile yet. We'll see 5 cards, no Recon Directive, but finds Crispin and a Blaziken. If there is a way to get a rare candy this turn, we could potentially see Blaziken EX itself come in and swing. Here's that first Recon Directive. Just some more cards that are already familiar with the hand. Ultra Ball and Fire Energy. Greg, I think we'll just continue to use Recon Directive, see some more cards, and figure out what approach. That Slowpoke with that beefy 80 HP coming in clutch to avoid a KO from Dragon Headbutt.
Nothing too crazy here. Does still have the supporter option available for Greg. I think a lot of the times players forget Unfair Stamp is actually an item. So would be able to use that Meowth EX if he so chooses to, but does use the Judge as well. Final Recon Directive, nothing coming home, Ethan. That's unfortunate.
All 3 Recon Directives being used. It seems as if Crispin is the supporter lined up for the turn. Allow Greg to accelerate energy into play, but no Slowpoke KO on the horizon means that Greg will have to decide where he wants to put these energy cards. There is an Ultra Ball in the hand as well. Wonder if Combuskin is potentially an option to evolve this turn. Does seem like there are some resources Greg may want to avoid having to discard.
That's true, but the safest thing to discard, honestly, right now is going to be that energy because of the Blaziken EX's ability. Seething Spirit going to be able to take an energy from the discard and attach it to one of the Pokemon here. So I do think the Combuskin is a good idea if Greg so chooses to, and it looks like that is going to be the option. Could be double discarding the Fire here.
Yeah, or one of those Blaziken EX. Don't need both, as you'll most likely be relying off just the single Blaziken EX, and while Phantom Dive is a great attack, it is important to note that Lily's Clefairy and Ross's deck can be troublesome for Dragapult, and sometimes just attacking with Blaziken can get the job done in certain scenarios.
I think in certain scenarios as well, Ethan, is that now not just the Dracloak on the bench has the biggest kind of target on it, but it's actually the Combuskin that's going to be doing a lot of the energy work, a lot of the engine work for this deck. But you gotta love to see that, Ethan. I mean, the evolution into the into the Slowking and the Lily's Determination for a fresh 8 cards. Can Ross find Academy at Night and an attacker to go with?
Doesn't even need Academy at Night. That energy being attached to the active means Super Cybolt is online and ready to deal enough damage to KO Dracloak, allowing Ross to save some resources and wait to play down those stadiums until it's absolutely necessary.
Top 8 cards here, or top 6 cards, excuse me. Ross did take a knockout, so only 6 for this one here. See what he's going to be able to find. And like you said, Super Cybolt will certainly get the job done, but does actually have the Academy at Night and the Pokepad in hand for next turn. I'm wondering if Ross wants to use that Pokepad now to at least get another Slowking ready to go, because you can only imagine what Greg is planning for the next turn with something like this Phantom Dive here. Might actually have to be the play.
Always have to think about the risky Ruins Stadium card to drop damage onto play, which then can allow Munkidori to get involved and have Phantom Dive essentially spread 8 damage counters on the bench instead of 6. Ross, of course, a seasoned player, will take note of what pieces are available, how many cards Greg will have to work with, though that number will change very quickly thanks to Recon Directive. Just thinking about, as you mentioned, whether or not to play the Pokepad, it will instead be opting to hold on to that card for now. Super Cybolt will take the KO. Ross has jumped to a 2-prize card lead as Greg decides which Pokemon to promote, and it will finally be Dracloak as Dragapult EX seems to be on the horizon thanks to another Ultra Ball top deck. Can Greg pair this with some disruption? You saw Judge was actually the card grabbed off a previous Recon Directive. Emily, is it time to go in now, or do we save that disruptive resource for later on?
It's looking a little bit back and forth here still, too, especially with no Munkidori Dark Energy and the risky Ruins. I'm sure Greg would love to wipe both attackers off the board on Ross's side to get things going, but that Ultra Ball instead, I mean, the thing is, Ethan, it's just that Dragapult has so much HP, and thanks to Blaziken as well, and the Judge on top of that, does have another reliable attacker just in case Greg is afraid of being attacked by a Lily's Clefairy EX, or, of course, having Fairy Zone enable all of these Psychic Pokemon to hit for weakness.
It is still possible for Greg to take a KO on this Slowpoke. Would need a decent portion of resources off of these 4 cards, plus Recon Directive needs to find Munkidori, plus the Stadium card. There's only 1 Risky Ruins in this list, and a Dark Energy in the discard pile, but that Risky Ruins is in the prize cards, which does signal why Greg decided to go this route on this turn.
Only 1 Risky Ruins for Greg. So unfortunately, in a perfect world, that would have been amazing, but won't be able to go that route this time. So instead, just using the Buddy Poffin to set up more Dreepies into Dracloak, still being able to sift through the deck. The big question is Ross going to be able to respond with the Phantom Dive onto this Dragapult by finding a Lily's Clefairy for next turn?
There is Boss's orders for the following turn, potentially, as well as that 1 Team Rocket's Watchtower Judge plus Watchtower. A powerful disruptive combo means that Kangaskhan's run errand ability no longer online. As Greg has really put the pressure on. Turn number 3, Phantom Dive, KO on the Slowking, and immediately placing all 6 damage counters on Slowpoke, signaling that he wants to get aggressive on the following turn to target down these attackers.
Ross is just going to have to hope that he finds a counter stadium in play. I do believe that is a Cypher Maniacs code breaking in the hand for Ross. So what could have been kind of tailoring the deck to find what Ross needs, unfortunately not going to be able to actually draw anything this turn. Might just have to throw that Kyurem in the active, Ethan, but if you do that, I mean, nevertheless, this Slowpoke is probably going to go down this turn. Does have the telepathic energy in the hand as well, but still, those early discards may have hurt Ross.
It is tough. You can, of course, play that down first to search out some Pokemon, then stack the deck with that Cypher Maniac is just kind of considering where to put this energy. If you put it onto Slowpoke, it's almost lined up as a guaranteed target to be KO'd. And the energy doesn't do much good on Latias. You've got to pair that with a few Wondrous Patch. Will be the attachment onto Slowpoke, allowing Ross to search some Psychic Pokemon and place them onto the bench. While this Lily's Clefairy can be solid, it is, of course, a huge liability with just that 190 HP. If Greg could pair something with a Phantom Dive, he could set up a 2-turn clock to close out game number 1.
And the thing is, Ethan, as well, we know from behind the scenes that Greg does have a boss's orders waiting in the wings as well here. So it's really about how Ross wants to go about which attackers he really goes for here. I mean, Greg, I was about to say, putting down Lily's Clefairy is definitely a very easy target for a 3-prize Phantom Dive, but it might just have to be double Slowpoke here. At least one would be able to go on after next turn, but it's looking just a little bit rough.
It is just a tough spot regardless. You can Cypher Maniac a Stadium card to the top of your deck that would turn on the Mega Kangaskhan's ability for the following turn, but then you only get a 1-card choice. And what do you grab? Do you grab a Lily to cycle through the hand to try and draw some more cards? It seems that all options that aren't being aggressive this turn may just be setting yourself a little too far behind.
Has to make the question here. We haven't even talked about Ross's A-Spec yet, and that is going to be the secret box there. A A-Spec that we commonly loved right before rotation, before Unfair Stamp really kind of came in and dominated which A-Spec players were taking. But you can't cherry pick more out of your deck thanks to Secret Box, a great A-Spec where you're able to choose an item, a tool, a supporter, and a stadium. So it would be Ross trying to pick the pieces together here to go on ahead and being able to potentially get Latias set up for a knockout or being able to get into Slowking next turn.
So we'll see those 2 cards placed on top of the deck. Retreating into the Slowpoke and trying to at least put on some sort of disruption. It is going to be the Dragon Tail to put a Pokemon from the discard pile back into the hand for Ross, recovering Slowking just to make sure that piece is one less thing he'll need on the following turn.
I think the biggest thing for Ross here is that Ross is really banking on finding these Wondrous Patches, Ethan. Dangle Tail definitely does at least help you get that Slowking, so that's one less piece you need off of the secret box. But still, I mean, has to find a Wondrous Patch, does at least have the energy in hand, but that is Ross's turn. Heading back on over to Greg's. I mean, Boss's orders definitely does feel pretty good this turn, but it's about setting himself up for what comes after, because still, I mean, Greg is behind in the prize race.
To target down the Mega Kangaskhan, slowly try and set that up for a KO. The big advantage to that would be not opening up a bench space for this Pokemon, and I have to wonder if Greg is maybe aware of putting Lily's Clefairy out of commission, meaning that this Dragapult can survive a one-hit KO. List differentiation plays a huge part in games like these. Is your opponent playing something like Brave Bangle for a KO? Do they have some other way to modify damage without relying off the Fairy Zone? Greg's not going to take that risk. Instead, dealing the 200 damage, not using Phantom Dive, and just trying to protect these Pokemon in play as much as possible while slowly accumulating damage on the board.
This is the appeal of Dragapult's Blaziken for a lot of players. Not only does that Seething Spirit truly help players with their energy, but also the fact that Blaziken is a pretty hefty attacker as well, sitting at 320 HP. And you're right, Ethan, the Lily's Clefairy is not truly a threat right here, especially because Ross is not only bench locked here, but still can't draw cards under this Mega Kangaskhan right now. But look at the hand. I mean, that's a lot of Pokemon, not only that going down, but still, I mean, that's a lot of energy that Ross has actually thrown away at this point.
Now just debating which card to keep in the hand. With the secret box, we'll have to discard everything else but one, considering whether it's worth it to pitch this Pokemon that was brought back the previous turn with Dangle Tail, and just valuing the Psychic Energy more than this Slowking. Discarding those 3 cards with Secret Box can search out one of each trainer card, a Stadium, Supporter, Tool card, and Item card. Will need to be a powerful 4 cards for Ross to get himself back into game number 1.
I like what Ross is already doing with that Cypher Maniac. It's code breaking, heading into the top of the deck here. Has to truly decide, but like you had mentioned, Ethan, the Brave Bengal as well, a great tool card that does help hit those higher HP Pokemon. So would have to use this final Psychic Energy to attach to the Slowpoke already that has energy on it, and would have to use something like Metagross to get this Blaziken out of here.
Can even get things done with the Cypher Maniac, not needing to search out a Pokemon. Can use Cypher Maniac's code breaking, put the desired target on top of the deck, as well as a desirable card in that second slot to be the guaranteed top deck for the following turn. Ross playing heads up, trying to maximize every resource at his disposal.
I love how Ross is handling this matchup as well, Ethan. Just from that Shaman being put down, it really does force you to kind of work your way around in a very different prize map. I think a lot of players truly love to go that 2-2-2 prize map, but Ross having to slow down, even using Slowpoke's attack to actually get a knockout on Badu here. But the only thing that I am worried about is that Latias is sitting at 200 damage with only 10 left to go. A Monkey Dory and some risky ruins, and even just one damage counter from a Phantom Dive is not going to be exactly what Ross wants to see here, but there's the attack.
Metagross being used to copy the attack with Seek Inspiration, 300 damage, plus the Brave Bengal means Blaziken EX goes down, and Ross jumps himself to just 2 prize cards away from closing out game number 1.
Big draw here for Greg. I think the thing is there's so many Slowpokes that could be ready to go here, and Ross hasn't used a Wondrous Patch just yet. So now it's on Greg. Are you going to find a way to take multiple prize cards this turn? But there's still an attacker ready to go. Would be able to at least get rid of the Brave Bengal on the board, so would require a little bit more to hit all the way up. But still, we haven't seen the Wondrous Patches used by Ross, and we haven't seen Lily's Clefairy EX hit the board as well. So it's all about Greg trying to play a little bit of defense here. Hand Disruption might have to be the only way out.
And that is just not available, Emily. There are no more Hand Disruption cards available. The Judge is gone, and the Unfair Stamp is gone. So that defense, as you mentioned, may really just be to attack as aggressively as possible. Lily's Determination, the supporter for choice. As things stand, Greg can get a bit fancy to try and potentially take a KO with Dragon Headbutt to not leave a 2-prize Pokemon in the active spot. However, it just feels as if that secret box for Ross found all the pieces, and now with that Risky Ruins still being in the prizes, it means Greg has no counter stadium for what is a crucial card in this Slowking's deck strategy, that Nighttime Academy.
Nighttime Mine Academy at night.
Everything's happening at night. We can't have any action during the day, ladies and gentlemen.
So many of our stadiums really kind of coincide one another that sometimes it's hard to keep track. But yes, that Academy at night still sitting on the board here. And like you had said, Ethan, it just feels like everything's in place for Ross. And now it's just all about maybe, like you said, attacking with a Dragon Headbutt instead of evolving all the way up into the Dragapult EX. It would at least require Ross to use something like a Boss's Orders to bring Dragapult into the active here. As the Ultra Ball is being used, I mean, potentially bringing Meowth into the hand for next turn if this Dracloak stays in the active?
It's tough because if you decide to not put Dragapult EX into play in your active spot, you're still on a 3-turn prize map to win the game. You can't close the game out on the following turn. You need some sort of combination of double Monkey Dory and your opponent leaving damage on your side. So we'll forgo putting Dragapult EX into play. Dragon Headbutt will give Greg another prize card, but he's still a few turns away. And with there being no disruption left, Ross has the green light to try and take this turn to stabilize his board and put together a winning strategy come next turn.
I love also just the mindfulness from Ross from last turn, not only stacking what he needed on the top for Cypher Maniac's code breaking, but also putting this Pheasantipity in play as well. So a free fresh hand card and then the run errand on top. So I mean, if Ross needs cards, now is the time to find it. Does find the Lily's Clefairy, but Ethan, I mean, the bench lock, thanks to the Kyurem that he started the game with, that doesn't necessarily feel too good.
It will be the Lily's Determination, and I have to wonder if Ross has hit 2 of the 3 check marks for this turn, putting Slowking into play, drawing cards, and the last one being an energy attachment to just not have huge reliance on Wondrous Patch. You always have to be careful of potential Badoo shenanigans, getting involved, shutting off your item cards, and making it hard to power up your Pokemon. See 6 cards drawn, and immediately that first card, the Boomerang Energy, can be placed onto Slowking. Can Ross find another way to evolve this Slowpoke so that Boss's Orders plus some sort of stadium combination is not a threat? We know it's not available, but it's something that Ross has always got to be thinking about playing around.
I think Ross is also holding the mirror up to Greg and saying, here's this Mega Kangaskhan, go ahead and stack damage onto it, but then you're leaving the Dragapult in the active right here. Finally does at least find a Wondrous Patch here, so we'll at least be able to utilize some of the Psychic Energy that we did see off of these Ultra Ball discards a little bit earlier. But like you had said, there's the Boomerang Energy going on top here, and now it's about what Ross wants to do. Is it just leaving the Kangaskhan in the active? No, it's actually going to be an attack here.
May just be attempting to take a KO, go to 1 prize card, and just try and KO anything that's left in the active spot. So there it is, copying the Trifrost, the Boomerang Energy, while being discarded initially, will be reattached to this active Pokemon. Dragapult EX coming to the active spot as Ross is just 1 prize card away from closing this game out. Here's the Recon Directive, does find a Boss's Orders, but I'm not sure there's an energy card to be able to attack with Phantom Dive this turn, and to do all of that, your opponent's got the Guaranteed Stadium card in play, 5 more cards to be drawn at their disposal, and all they need to do is find a Slowking, a Wondrous Patch, and a way to put a Pokemon on top of the deck.
It's coming down to last turn, Ethan, where Greg did at least have the Torchic and the Rare Candy in hand. Could have been able to use a acceleration boost to try and get something going. Did have the Risky Ruins in hand as well. Could have used something like the Boss's Orders and then using Risky Ruins to move some damage counters over to Pheasantipity, and there's a 4 prize turn there, but unfortunately not going to be able to find it and go all the way here, so it's just going to have to be a Lily's Determination, shuffle up the deck, hopefully find that energy card that he so desperately needs.
Spin the wheel a bit for Greg. You see the deck and hand so thin, just so little resources available, but it may be all he needs. And importantly, though, did find Risky Ruins off of the prize cards the previous turn. However, here for Greg, he's not going to be able to both attach an energy card to this Dragapult and power up Monkey Dory this turn. We'll see this Torchic get benched, importantly placing 2 damage counters on it thanks to that Stadium card. And now the question for Greg is, can you afford to play the Lily's Determination, meaning it will be your last way to shuffle your hand into your deck? It's got to be at the cost of at least finding an energy card this turn.
Or an energy recovery at that either. The Night Stretcher still could be in the deck somewhere as well. I mean, would be able to at least get down to 1 prize card like Ross here. But like you said, Ethan, it's a matter of what is drawn here. Unfortunately, Blaziken is not in play, so will just have to be a manual attach as Ross going to shuffle Greg's deck himself. Let's see what the 6 cards are.
So here we go. 5 cards, does find the Fire Energy. It seems like it's just Phantom Dive or bust at this point. So there it is, Phantom Dive online. We'll just make one more look at the discard pile to see what pieces are still available. But with Ross already having 5 cards in hand, plus Flip the Script and that Run Errand ability, it seems that his deck will have to be oh so cruel to him if he is going to miss an attack this turn.
It's not even just the Ultra Balls, right? The Night Stretcher in hand as well to be able to manually attach a Psychic Energy to. So here it is, Phantom Dive, spreading the damage counters here. But like you had said, Ethan, it's all about whether the Flip the Script will help, but also all of the pieces that Ross would be able to find the acceleration to do so. Can at least grab a Slowking out of the discard thanks to Night Stretcher, and does have the Ultra Ball for Lily's Clefairy EX, but it's a matter about finding all these pieces and putting it together. There's the patch, Ethan.
That may be everything right there if there's something like the Zeraora, that could be copied even from the Slowking. Academy at Night in the hand as well. Ross believes he's just got everything as it stands. Ultra Ball, discarding the Zeraora and the Pokepad. Lily's Clefairy can be grabbed, and it can be powered up in one turn, placed onto the bench, attachment for turn with that Boomerang energy, and the Wondrous Patch means Lily's Clefairy EX swings for the KO, takes the knockout on Dragapult EX, and after a hard-fought battle, Ross Cawthon is going to secure game number 1.
Also using the Night Stretcher as well to guarantee the benches are full here, and it will be that beautiful use of tools. And Ethan, it's really, I mean, looking at the opening hand, it was Ross pitching away so many resources and being able to sift through them with maybe 1 or 2 card hands right at the end to be able to cinch that win.
Absolutely excellently played there from Ross. Did almost everything perfect after a very slow and not powerful start. Pablo, I'd love to hear from you and get your thoughts on if there was anything that, Ross could have done differently, or if he responded back to that disruption as best as he possibly could have.
I generally, Ross played so well, being very creative with his tackle, knockout on body, using Dangle Tail to recover a Slowking, not needing to search for it under item lock in case that ever happened again. And I love how he just adapted his game plan to, okay, I started Kyurem and there's a Shaman on my bench. I just need to take big knockouts. And it worked out really well. So, I mean, if Shaman is supposed to be the answer to Slowking, I really don't know what Greg can do here to adapt his strategy, maybe be more aggressive or as aggressive he can be with the damage spread. I don't know if that Blaziken and knockout Fearings, the Clefairy, if that's something we probably cannot afford to see because we need a lot more damage spread on the board.
Yeah, he was just 1 prize card away, and if there were, it feels like 6 more damage counters in play. That would have been a completely different game playing around the Brave Bengal, but it seemed to just be the same attack. Greg's got to get thinking about the future, not what happened in the past. Going first, starting things out with a Buddy Poffin, has some solid prizes, nothing too detrimental. Off to a solid start, and this time maybe going to try and get Badoo evolved in that early game.
The energy attachment, so belovedly missed last game for Greg, is going to actually go down. But the thing is, Ethan, does Ross ever truly want to start this Lily's Clefairy? It feels like more of a catch-22 of a surprise, because it is a very easy Phantom Dive target. So we'll have to actually kind of work with this Lily's Clefairy here. I don't know if I saw a telepathic energy in Ross's hand as well for the setup. Does thankfully at least have the Slowpoke here.
There is not a lot going on in this
not
hand,
at all.
Emily. Just some energy cards passing the turn over, but on the opposite side, Greg's got nothing to work with either. No evolution Pokemon, no Dracloak, relying off this Crispin to just put more energy into play, but it seems that Lily's Clefairy may just get involved manually to steamroll through Greg's board if he's unable to find any help these next few turns.
And speaking of help, that secret box is going to be at the bottom of the prizes for Ross as well, but we'll have to just get Badoo into the action and go here. Look at all of those energies inside Greg's hand. You're never used to seeing Dragapult actually deal with this, so it's really just Greg trying to kind of thin the deck down. Let's see what Ross can do. And like you had said, I think it's just energy attachment and then using Full Moon Rondo on just a little Badoo.
And that's all Ross needs. KO on Badoo, taking a prize card, and oh, so close to taking that secret box. No help for Greg off the top. It's just an energy card, a Dracloak Stadium, and a Dragapult EX that cannot be evolved. Ring around the rosy for Greg, but at what avail? Ross will continue to take prize cards, and does he find help off the top of the deck?
Not item locked either here, so we'll be able to at least try and sift here.
It's a Cypher Maniac, Emily. That means a guaranteed solid top deck for the following turn. Something like a Lily's Determination even to find some fresh cards. And Ross doesn't know it yet, but he's going to be greeted with an excellent prize in that secret box after Dreepy goes down.
Now just trying to get things started here. Like you said, Lily's Determination. And the thing is, I mean, are you really going to choose a second card after that, assuming that you are going to be attacking this turn? So really just probably taking the time to do something like a deck check here, see what resources are available. I think Ross was definitely expecting to grab the secret box first, but unfortunately not going to be able to grab it. It's in the prizes.
See what 2 cards Ross decides to go for, and already in this game too, it is snowballing out of Greg's control. No help with supporters, no help with any Dracloak, and while we praise Dragapult for its attacking prowess, for its recon directive stability, there are a decent portion of times where you're unable to pass that threshold, and you're kind of blown out of the water as we're seeing in this game.
A little bit concerned about that risky ruins in the hand for Greg here. Might just have to be a full moon rondo and keep going. Will the card help? No, Ethan. It's just that Shaman that you would love to see in this matchup, but maybe with some Dracloaks and Dragapults.
Still need to play it down just to protect yourself, but at this point, Greg is past the point where he needs help. He needs saving, ladies and gentlemen. Can just continue to retreat, but what's the point? That energy will be discarded either way. Can continuously think about attaching energy cards. That's less cards to pitch later on with Ultra Ball. The turn will be passed over as Lily's Clefairy is wreaking havoc on Greg Minklei's board.
And there's that secret box, Ethan, and it's all about setup at this point here. Going to be able to find that item, tool, supporter, and stadium. Still will be able to also stack the deck as well with more Cypher Maniac if he so chooses to, but it's all about what he wants to find here. I mean, I think Ross understands what's going on Greg's side of the board here. So like you had mentioned, it will be that Lily's determination to refresh the hand, because as good as Ross has it right now, there's not much setup aside from this one Slowpoke, right? Would love to realistically see something alongside the Latias and the Mega Kangaskhan to continuously draw cards here, but maybe just attaching that lucky helmet onto Lily's Clefairy just in case Greg may find a Budew and try and keep Ross under item lock.
Grabbing another Lily's Determination, that lucky helmet, stadium card, and a Pokepad to get some more Pokemon into play. It will be Slowpoke number 2 coming down. Ross is going to go down to 3 prize cards as Greg is just struggling to find any help from his deck, as Ross will build the board up, build attackers up, and it's now or never for Greg if he wants a way back in this game. He's got to find a Lily's Determination off the top. He's got to draw the most perfect 8 cards, and he's got to hope Ross draws into the worst combination of cards for the rest of the game. It is that dire. It is that serious.
It is 6 cards here for Ross, and like we had talked about, putting the lucky helmet onto the Lily's Clefairy just in case there's maybe something along the lines of a petty grudge next turn, because Greg's going to need to at least stack some damage here. But for Ross, I would really love to see him find a telepathic energy as well to get things started here, as the 6 cards are going to be drawn. I do believe there's an Ultra Ball as well, so could see something along the lines of getting that Latias in play ready to go, but that's double Kyurem there. I mean, the hand's not too crazy, Ethan.
Not too crazy at all. Does have Cypher Maniac's code breaking to work for on the following turn. Does want to just get Mega Kangaskhan into play to stabilize if for some reason this Lily's Clefairy EX is KO'd from a combination of Rare Candy, Dragapult. It seems crazy even just talking about it. It will be the choice. Kangaskhan coming down. Ross is just in command of this game in the most unlikely of ways, off the back of Full Moon Rondo. Early aggression and early pressure, just too much for Greg to handle.
And it's just going to probably be another Full Moon Rondo. And like you had said, Ethan, is it really up to Rare Candy Dragapult to save this game for Greg? We'll be at least able to get the Night Stretcher, so could use, I mean, a copy of, you know, retreating into the Budew here to at least stop some items from being played, but that's not exactly what you want to see. And Greg, no supporter yet this game.
Yeah, it seems every option is just not a winning strategy, but you've got to do what you can. Down a game with 12 minutes on the clock, just considering whether or not Dreepy is better to grab than another Budew back into play. As if he even chooses to attack, it seems like it would be more beneficial to let Ross draw cards than put 10 damage on the board. Ross is just 2 or 3 attacks away from closing things out, scratching his head, thinking about what could possibly happen, but it's all hopes and dreams at this point. The turn is passed back over as Ross continues to develop his board and run away with this second game.
I mean, Cypher Maniac drawn as well. could imagine seeing something along the lines of a Latias here to try and get this Lily's Clefairy out, so Mega Kangaskhan could draw cards. But the thing is, Ethan, does Ross truly even need to draw cards when there's not even a Drakloak in play? There's no way for Greg in the hand to even power up like a Crispin to get Dragapult even swinging next turn. So it might be Ross using that Cypher Maniac's code breaking to find another Lily's Clefairy to try and find another way to keep setting this board up.
Ross is just in protection mode at this point. He has everything going perfectly. He has so little ways to lose that it seems that all he needs to do is make sure that the dire situations don't occur. This Kangaskhan doesn't get trapped. He can continuously fire off Full Moon Rondos the next turns, and that's why we see Switch as one of those two cards grab from the Cypher Maniac. A knockout is taken. Ross goes down to 2 prize cards as Greg needs help desperately from the top of his deck. Otherwise, this game will be curtains.
The thing is, Ethan, even if Greg is able to find Rare Candy Dragapult, that's a Lily's Clefairy waiting to go and doesn't need 2 full benches to really get things going on a Full Moon Rondo to get a knockout here. Must just at least attempt to get a Torchic going, but it's really just the hand not giving Greg much to work with. No supporter at all in this game too. You know, Ross is really kind of having a nice calm time here.
Calm and composed. As a veteran of the game, expect nothing less from Ross Cawthon. More Pokemon coming into play, but all they are at this point is fodder for this Lily's Clefairy that's taking these Pokemon down with cuteness and style. This Greg was just a turn away from succumbing to the Full Moon Rondo power of Lily's Clefairy EX. Will just be another retreat, trying to buy more time, more turns. Doesn't matter what you promote, that Lily's Clefairy will take a KO. As Ross continues yet another free turn, not even having put Slowking in play. It's just announce the draw for turn, announce the attack. Greg has one opportunity to draw a card, and if it's not a helping Pokemon or a supporter, this game will be all over.
I mean, Ethan, you got to think about the way that Greg started this game with all the energy in hand. Now you look at the board, right, and it's just been wiped off no matter which way you look at it. So it is up to one recon directive, like you had mentioned, to find a supporter to attempt to keep something going. But Ross is just one boss's orders, one Full Moon Rondo away from really just sinking this game. What is even Greg looking for at this point?
He's got to find a lot of cards, and it all comes down to this recon directive, maybe another Dracloak, but that wouldn't even be great since you need to Rare Candy this Dreepy into Dragapult. We've got that already. Here we go. 2 cards off recon directive, and it is a Lily's Determination. That's got to be the grab. You can Rare Candy into Lily's, play the stadium down. Okay. Listen, I did say it all starts out with Lily's, so that's piece number 1. We're going to see 8 cards since Greg has yet to take a prize card.
Yeah.
If he has Pheasantipity, he can flip the script and draw a few more cards. All of that to have a shot at winning this second game. Nothing's impossible in the Pokemon TCG.
The point here, too, as well, Ethan, is that if Greg wants to kind of put Pheasantipity EX into the active, has to be very mindful of how many more Pokemon are on the bench thanks to that Full Moon Rondo. So can he find it? I mean, there's still recon directives to go, Ethan.
He's got to find Blaziken EX as well to attack, so double Rare Candy.
Jeez.
Rare Candy, Blaziken, Dragapult, Energy. Yep. It's a lot. And I don't know if any 3 cards off this flip the script will be enough. Greg will play to his outs, however. Grabbing this Combustion with the Pokepad. Playing Ultra Ball prematurely before the flip the script. Just trying to do everything to maximize the odds of finding the perfect hand-picked 3 cards from Flip the Script.
And like you had said, this is the most amount of thinning you can do, right? Using the Pokepads and using the Ultra Balls to try and find one rare candy here. Yeah. We'll have to take the Blaziken at least.
It's a small decision, but if Greg had chosen to promote Torchic this turn, it would have been one less piece he'd need to attack. Would just have needed rare candy on the Blaziken to then use the Smoldering Somersault to take a KO on Lily's Clefairy. Now it just seems a little too far, and out of reach for Greg to be able to find a KO on Clefairy EX.
Might just have to put a Blaziken into the active if he's able to find Rare Candy, and then just understand that Ross is going to tap into it with Full Moon Rondo here, because Lily's Clefairy unable to hit 310. Flip the script, 3 cards, Ethan.
None of that's possible without Rare Candy, so we'll see the draws. If Greg can find Rare Candy, he'll have a shot, but no. Rare Candy unavailable. There's an energy card. You can retreat into the Pheasantipity to try and buy yourself a turn, since as it stands, Full Moon Rondo would cap out at 200 damage with there only being 4 bench Pokemon for Greg. But that's just another energy card you're going to lose. Here is the Recon Directive, still no Rare Candy, and now you've also lost that Combustion with Ultra Ball discarding it, meaning you'll still need to find Rare Candy on the following turn to have a shot.
Can't even put the Dragapult into play either because of the Fairy Zone ability onto Lily's Clefairy as well. So I think it is just Ethan going to have to be the attach and retreat into the Pheasantipity and hope Ross doesn't find the combination to get Boss's orders here.
Playing this run around game, trying to buy time, but time is ticking. Ross is 1 prize card away, and there's only so much running you can do before there's nowhere left to hide. Top deck for the turn. With the Cypher Maniac, it was expecting a potential KO, putting that Pheasantipity on the top. Can't play it as it stands.
I'm wondering if there's going to be a way for Ross to get the Slowking up and running this turn. I don't think the cards are in the hand to enable it.
Maybe close if there's a way to retreat Lily's Clefairy with that 1 retreat, use this Cypher Maniac, grab 2 cards with the Kangaskhan, and then use a switch that was found in the hand. There's a world where Ross can get the KO. We'll see if he has the pieces to do it. Needs a Pokemon to copy. There's the Metagross. Wondrous Patch already in the hand. Emily, the pieces may be available.
Might just have to be finding the Stadium at this point. Like you had mentioned, the Wondrous Patch is going to be the key card here because you can only attach 1 energy per turn. Has Ross found the pieces to use the Metagross attack to be able to take out this Pheasantipity EX? See if he sees it.
2 cards on top of the deck. There it is. The manual retreat will put the Psychic Energy in the discard pile. Kangaskhan EX, run errand to draw into the perfect 2 cards. There's the Stadium card and the energy. Ross with the Evolution, the energy card, and the Wondrous Patch will be able to copy Metagross, take the KO on Pheasantipity, and win a convincing Game 2 to advance to 3-0.
You love to see this from Ross and the Academy at Night, as you can see showing, and then seeking inspiration into going 3-0 here for Ross. A great win there to show, even if Shaman is on the board, Ethan, it's no problem at all for Ross.
Still winnable, still possible if you just seek a little inspiration in your life. You can get amazing things done. Congratulations to Ross, always a piloter of unique and interesting decks, and when they find themselves in a decent meta spot, you know there may be no better pilot than Ross to try and get things done.
And he was working with a really small hand throughout both games that Ross was able to really kind of clutch up and win there too, having to do some really dangerous discards off of the Ultra Balls and off of the secret boxes to really kind of get himself going. But that unfair stamp that Ross ate in that first game, right, actually led him into getting that board reestablished as well. So it's a really nice way to show that even if there is a Shaman, even if you can't Trifrost, you can still get it done.
If you look back through the series, it was this Game 1, of course, of most note, where Greg was off to a solid start. As you mentioned, that unfair stamp early on did not provide the disruptive effect that Greg was hoping for. Slowking got in more ways than one. Super Psybolt made an appearance. The Slowpoke attacked. It brought Pokemon back from the discard pile, and it was just enough attacking pressure thanks to that Brave Bangle KOing the Blaziken. That was the big swing turn in that first game.
And inside of this game as well, you really got to see Ross working around the prize cards as well, and even unable to take a multi-prize knockout with Triforce, even being able to just take 1 game at a time, 1 knockout at a time, worked out pretty well for him. But still, I mean, in this game number 2, Ethan, you never want to start the Lily's Clefairy, especially because of those low hit points.
But it was indeed the perfect starter. It ended up turning out as Lily's Clefairy got in early, capitalized on Greg's slow start. bounced that Full Moon Rondo 5 times, and it was eventually just that Slowking coming in, getting involved with that combination, the combo of the Manual Retreat plus Wondrous Patch plus any perfect 2 cards with that combination of Cypher Maniac's code breaking and the Run Errand ability that allowed Ross to close this game out and now advance to 3-0 at another international championship.
And understanding the deck as well, Ethan. I mean, playing to every single one of Ross's outs here. And I mean, speaking of outs, I think Greg did a really